Today we're going to start with telling you about an email we received, and we think we're going to start doing this maybe on a regular basis. If you send us an email of interest, we're going to give a response by video because many people have similar questions. So first off, we have retired and been living off of our savings for 4.5 years, and our life has been really good, and we've shared our cost of living with you guys, but there's people that want to know, how much do we need to retire? So Julie, go ahead and read the email that we received, and let's see what we can do to kind of give an answer.
All right, so this email says, my name is Greg, and I've subscribed to your channel for quite a while now. I especially appreciate your budget videos and feel like my wife and I are financially on track to live the same lifestyle as you. I know the sensitive nature of disclosing your own financial details, and I'm not asking you to do that. I know you've been living this lifestyle for several years, and I would like to ask your opinions. My wife and I have a net worth of $1.5 million, $1 million in retirement accounts, and the other $500,000 in assets like our home, etc. I am 56 years old and my wife is 45. I am the type of person that never feels like I've saved enough, so I need some help. Given your experience, would you consider this enough money to travel the way that you guys do full time? I appreciate your time and I value your opinion.
You know, this was a bit of a head scratcher to answer. We didn't have all the fine details, but what I am looking at as I dissect this email is that the person has $500,000 and $1 million. So we have our early retirement bucket and our regular retirement bucket. So for the moment, let's focus in on the $500,000 and how far that will get him, because we are going to assume that he wants to get to full retirement age for his Social Security and then pull from Social Security, and in the meantime let his $1 million continue to build without being touched. So we're going to look at a 11-year plan for that $500,000. Now, of course, if he's going to want to put $200,000 of that into, say, buying a home somewhere,
Right.
It will change equations a bit, because that will save some money on rent and if he gets residency somewhere. But if it's for traveling, because he did specify traveling the way we do
full time.
full time. So we actually do have a home here, and we use this as a leverage for either for renting out when we're not here to help supplement monies, but also for home swapping. And so we even started a home swapping group because of that particular category.
It is a not-for-profit group. We are just trying to help people
So
get
on
together.
Facebook, you can check that out. So let's first start off with $500,000, and let's move forward from there. If you have $500,000 and you are going to spread this out over 11 years, I'm going to show you a calculation I did assuming an 8% return on your investment. So I'm going to look at this calculation. I use mycalculators.com. It's a great tool. So I'm looking for an 11-year plan on $500,000. We're going to assume that he can get an 8% return from being in the stock market, and I'm going to explain that 8% in a moment as well. And I'm going to go with the regular annual inflation rate of 3.2% going forward. So with $500,000, if you wanted to kick the can down the road and live on this money for 11 years, what does that give you? That's going to give you year one at $56,470 to take out on an annual basis. And of course you could prorate that out over the year, so that's going to be well over $4,000 a month. So really in the $4,500
And hey,
bracket.
we are living on less than that. We're living on less than $3,000 and happily doing so.
Yeah, and we're not doing that by choice, because that's all it really takes for us to do that. So just to be clear, our budget is not $3,000. So when we look at him having a $56,470 budget to travel full time, living the way we do, yeah, it's doable because it's not costing us that much.
No.
So now we will prorate that out over 11 years with inflation. By the time he gets to full retirement age with Social Security, he would be taking out $77,377 that last year, and then that $500,000 would be history. So now let's go to his $1 million bucket that he's saving. He's now going to Social Security age. He's now at 67. And what has that $1 million done? Okay, the stock market has historically returned just shy of 10% returns. It has not done very well in the last few years. And if we go back to basically 2019 to present, we've received about an 8% return, but that's because we've had dismal returns like the last 2.5 years. So when we look at his $1 million with an average 8% return conservatively, that's going to leave him with $2,580,000 in that $1 million bucket. So just assuming he puts that into riding it out in the Dow, his $1 million will become $2,580,000, plus he'll have his Social Security. So that gets him 11 years down the road, and now he's got $2,580,000. So how does that stack up in the value of what the dollar would be worth in the future? So let's take a look at another picture here. So with this $1 million, assuming a 3.5% inflation rate, which is higher than the historic average, but lower than the last couple years, it's going to take $1,459,000 to equal out to $1 million in present dollars. So he's coming out over $1 million ahead on that equation. So yes, that means his $2.5 million is worth more in future dollars than it is with the inflation. So his million in the long-term retirement that's building is exceeding the value of what he started with his $1.5 million. Okay, so he is coming out ahead. So it is possible and doable. So you can also look at it from the standpoint of having the $1.5 million that you can touch currently if you wanted to kind of prorate that out. But I'd like to separate it in two different buckets and just letting that retirement account ride and take that bridge out. Now, of course, if he were to buy a home and say he's going to spend $250,000 when he's 59 and a half and get that, then the equations change a little bit. I would encourage having a home base because you can do so much by having a home base, collecting your belongings and having things and having a place to go and get a respite, but also leveraging it for house swapping and an additional rental income.
I agree.
So it's a good investment, depending on where you are anyway.
Yes.
So, when we look at the last 2.5 years, they really have sucked on the stock market. So we can't say everything is great. Yes, you're hearing in the news today, they got politicians celebrating, hey, we're hitting new highs, but we're hitting new highs from numbers that were like 2.5 years ago. So, when we look at the stock market performance over the last 2.5 years, and we look at the performance of inflation, we actually come out in a negative. So while we can look at 2.5 years and say, hey, the stock market is up 3.5% approximately, but inflation was up 5.5%. So for those of you sitting at home and looking at your 401ks and you're saying, I just don't feel like I'm much richer than 2.5 years ago. Yes, that's probably true, and except for the money you've been adding in and putting towards your retirement. Of course, we've been on an upswing for the last year approximately, but we are just really getting back to normal. So for those of you that started off with a nice little bucket of money, you probably watched it go down, and now it's back up to normal, and you still aren't feeling like you're getting ahead. So hopefully as we go forward, we get back to that 10% trajectory, but we are going to stick with a 8% return, being conservative, with a 3.5% interest rate when we try to figure out numbers, because we'll err on the side of being conservative.
Yes.
So now let's look at the full $1.5 million as though we are going to start working off that. So he wants to start touching his money at 59 and a half, and considering the money he has in his retirement account and his early retirement account as one lump sum.
Right.
So that changes the equation. So let's go back to the chart and see how this breaks out. What you'll see is with a 3.2% average inflation, and again given an 8% compounding rate, and we're going to string this out for 30 years, he's going to start off with taking $66,000 out per year and giving himself a 3.2% raise every year to keep up with inflation. So in 2053, he would be taking out $166,195. Now, when we look at his remaining balance after that 30 years, he's not broke and destitute. He still has $3,859,000 sitting in his retirement accounts.
And ideally, he's taking Social Security, correct?
Yes. So that's all being supplemented with his Social Security. So while you may have financial advisors out there telling you, yeah, you need 5 million, 6 million, maybe it depends on where you want to live and how you want to live, but
I think it all comes down to attitude. You're not going to have a yacht.
No,
You're going to have a comfortable lifestyle.
take a ride on a yacht now and then, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's we travel, we see the world, we eat healthy, we have a great social life as we go places. So yes, you can retire on this, and but it takes it takes planning out. I did a video about investing recently, so I hope you guys go watch that, because I give some ideas on how to invest and make some money for your retirement. So check that video out. I'll put a link here at the end. Greg, I hope we answered your question, and I hope it helps some of you out as well. Don't forget to join our Facebook group at look for Warren Julie Travel. And if you don't know this, I am a licensed health insurance agent from the United States, and if you need international health coverage, you can go to our links at warrenjulietravel.com and apply for a policy there. I've got 5 different carriers, and if you need extra help, you can email me at warrenjulietravel@gmail.com, and we'll get that back to you.
And don't forget our Schengen House Swap, WJT Schengen House Swap Facebook group, because if you have a home anywhere in the world, you might be able to use it as a commodity as you Schengen shuffle.
So let's talk about this house swapping too, because for those people that are looking at, maybe I'm going to retire and I want to buy a property with some of my extra assets, so maybe Greg wants to do a house. Our home here, we did a video about buying our home. We are doing our first house swap with a family from Copenhagen, and we'll be staying right in the downtown area of Copenhagen,
Very
swapping
soon.
our house out. And we'll be doing a 3-week house swap with them. And then we have a full 90-day house swap in the winter in Tuscany coming up. And so for those of you that were looking forward to us going to Azores, we had an offer we couldn't refuse to go to Tuscany, and we'll be near Florence and Bologna and Pisa, and getting a chance to explore those areas. So having a home and doing a home swap is new to us. We've always been doing the Airbnbs, as most of you know. We've done the Airbnb videos, but we are willing to now say, hey, let's take a look at how to use the home on the swap. And instead of us Airbnb-ing ours out all the time, we will look at swapping.
Yes, and we're open to a lot of areas.
Yeah, we're kind of just decided that we'll see where the wind will take us, because before we were looking at specific areas. We'll just see what offers pop up. But
Yes.
our next availability for our home here is actually going to be summer of 2025.
Well, currently we do have, for Airbnb purposes, September to October, but
Yeah, so September to October we do have for Airbnb, not for the swap, and unfortunately we already have some commitments in that range. But if you wanted to go to our Airbnb listing and go there, you won't see any reviews on this new house, maybe our old one in Kotor, but we no longer own that one. But here in Montenegro, this home, we've been fortunate that it's been viewers and swapping that have come here, so we haven't really gone through the actual Airbnb platform, but we can share that with you. And if you are choosing to stay in our home, we can talk it over, and you can also just email us at warrenjulietravel@gmail.com.
absolutely.
So we hope it's been entertaining, enlightening, and Greg, we hope we answered your question. So until next time, have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Ciao.